Well, we first told you the story of unclaimed cremains traced back to a local family.
Tonight, more on the woman thousands of miles away who made the connection and our journey to Salem, Oregon to retrace the final years in the life of a Johnstown man who was lost but not forgotten. All families have secrets, and Becky Perigo of Boswell wanted to know the truth after getting an unexpected email through Ancestry.com about a long-lost relative, Thomas Epsy Gerritsen.
Well, his parents died and left, I think it was 7 boys behind, and that was about it. I knew from talking to my father that at one point they thought he moved out west, maybe Oregon or Washington, but then that was it. They didn't know any more of what happened to him.
Turns out it was this woman, Phyllis Zegers of Roseburg, Oregon, who made the connection.
Well, it started because I was researching my own family, and I found a cousin who in the 1890s, she had been committed to Oregon State Hospital. And she died there, and her body was claimed, but that was the way I got to know about the cremains.
She's referring to more than 3,500 unclaimed cremains discovered on the hospital's property in 2004. Each copper canister recorded by name and a simple numerical stamp. Most of them former psychiatric patients who died while institutionalized between 1914 and the early 70s. The ashes and canisters are now part of a memorial, thanks in part to the Oregon legislature, which passed a law that allows the hospital to disclose their names, information protected by privacy laws, information that is also reuniting families. Zegers, a retired teacher, is pretty familiar with that list.
But I've researched about 1,000. I've contacted about 400. And about 100 have responded positively and are really excited about getting their relatives' cremains.
People like Becky, who 8 weeks after learning about her relatives' unclaimed cremains, boarded a plane and headed to Oregon.
Do you see her and her husband right there?
To meet Phyllis.
Oh, welcome, welcome.
And to visit the memorial, a neighboring psychiatric hospital where her great-great-uncle spent the last 16 years, 4 months, and 25 days of his life.
That's very important. I really wanted to see it while he was a part of it.
We started where Phyllis always starts. She and her husband, Paul, took us to the Oregon State Archives.
And here's Thomas Gerritsen's death certificate right on top.
He died of heart disease at about 58 years old.
Death certificates are really a great springboard. And then I start researching the person and find as much information as I can from a lot of different sources.
Phyllis traced Thomas's early life, an orphan at age 4 in Bedford County, working as a tinner in Johnstown in his teens. He married in Cambria County in his late 20s, and then ended up in Akron, Ohio, before heading to the Pacific Northwest.
Just all the things he missed out on. You know, all the siblings of his that died, and he didn't get to say goodbye.
We leave the state archives and head to the state hospital, where volunteers take Becky on a tour of the Oregon State Museum of Mental Health. It's located in the oldest building on the hospital grounds. There, Becky took in the exhibits, telling the stories of the people who lived and worked there.
Thomas, my relative, was a tinner, and so he worked. Yeah, he was here for 16 years, so I think there's a really good chance that he helped to make those. So.
She's referring to the copper canisters once used to store the cremains.
So the memorial was finished in summer of last year, and it is built using one of the buildings that used to house the cremated remains.
And the memorial is where we head next.
There he is, 2696. Wow. That's so neat. That's so neat that he's a part of it.
From his canister number,
2696. I just can't believe he came
all this way and ended up here.
To his medical file.
Diagnosis at the time was manic depressive psychosis, manic type. Wow. Was discharged on that day, so he stayed for about, 8 months?
Turns out that was Thomas's first commitment. His medical file revealed Thomas, who was divorced, was institutionalized in Washington state 7 months later, in March 1925. Again labeled manic depressive, a violent alcoholic. He's described as delusional, threatening, and suffering from hallucinations. 2 months later, he's transferred back to Oregon State Hospital, and he never left.
So he was a violent alcoholic.
Probably.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Look at that.
Have you ever seen a picture of him? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
not
but
like this.
Clear. There are minor discrepancies in the records, but also copies of documents that leave no doubts, like these telegrams, notification of Thomas's death, sent to and from a John Garretson of Hollidaysburg.
So one of the brothers knew.
And there was
didn't
her
do
full address.
anything.
This is the instructions, burial instructions and permission for the post-mortem.
So that would have been one of his brothers.
It's not clear why Thomas's brother never made arrangements to bring him home, but his ancestors want to make it right.
Kind of the golden rule, doing to others. So I would want someone to get me out of there, and he deserves to come back home.
Does this help to fill in some blanks?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, wow. No, that's wonderful. I'm so excited to have this. I mean, that'll give us a lot that we can go through at home, and it's going to open a new can of worms and new questions. And
It'll lead you down another road.
And all because of this woman with a gift for searching genealogy.
I feel like when I have the death certificate, it seems at first like I have the last chapter, that this is the last chapter of the book. I know how he died, I know where he died, I know what he died of. But really, when I'm able to contact the living relatives, there's just a whole new chapter here, and it's a happier ending.
Phyllis is the only known volunteer in the state of Oregon researching the genealogy of the unclaimed cremains. Thomas's medical file contained quotes, things he said when he was committed, and one statement caught Phyllis's attention when he said, quote, "I am going to change the order of the universe, but it's going to take time." Perhaps, Phyllis says, Thomas Epsy Garretson did play a role in something great, his life and legacy leading to unprecedented change in Oregon and across the country, in how we view and treat mental illness, how we care for people in life and death, and helping to slowly reunite families of loved ones who were lost but not forgotten.